Hi there, it's Gabrielle Nicolay from SpeechKids, where we teach little kids to talk and help parents understand their little kids. And today I'm so excited to be talking with Judith Wides. Judith, thank you so much for doing this with me today.
Delighted to be here, Gabrielle.
I thought we would start by you introducing yourself and sort of who you are and what you do, and then we'll go from there.
Sure. So I'm Judith, as Gabrielle said. I am the Director of Counseling and Parent Support at NCRC, which is a local DC preschool. We are an inclusion model preschool, which means that we serve together in classrooms, this year very small classrooms of only 8 children, both typically developing children and children who benefit from additional supports and adaptations. And in my role, I support teaching teams and parents and have a lot of fun doing it.
So excellent. Now, before you came to NCRC, you were telling me you worked at a pretty intense program in New Jersey. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about that? And actually,
Sure.
sorry, I'm going to interrupt you again. Tell me a little bit about your educational background as well, because you're trained as a...
So I have sort of dual training in school and counseling psych and marriage and family therapy.
Okay.
So that's my background.
Yep.
And previous to coming to NCRC, I worked briefly for Head Start in Fairfax County. And then before that, I was working in New Jersey for 10 years at a therapeutic day school program that was housed within the Department of Psychiatry at the University of Medicine and Dentistry of New Jersey, otherwise known as UMDNJ. And and it was a therapeutic day treatment program for children who were between the ages of 2.5 and 5, so roughly the same population age that I serve at NCRC. But these children were primarily children who had pretty severe histories of neglect and abuse.
Mm-hmm. So really intense.
Really intense behavioral challenges, really problematic histories of family relationship.
Okay. So these are really two different, very, very different populations. NCRC is located in Northwest DC. It's a fairly expensive preschool to go to. You do have, I know you have some financial aid and all of that, but it's a very different population. You're not dealing with a lot of trauma at NCRC.
Nope.
Okay. So how does your previous work inform what it is that you're doing at NCRC to the extent that it does?
So I have a really deep understanding of attachment relationships, of parent-child dynamics, and how that shapes trajectory for a child. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter how many letters they know or if they know their colors, but it comes down to do their parents tune into them and connect with them? Do their parents understand how to facilitate play without always asking a lot of questions? Do they know how to give kids space to express themselves? I understand that in a very deep way, and my job at NCRC is to support the parents in being their most authentic versions of themselves as parents, using that lens, using that attachment relationship lens.
Mm-hmm. And so when people talk about, this is not, just for the record, attachment parenting, which is its whole other self. So say more about attachment and like, why do we need it? What does it do?
Right. So attachment is the foundation for life. It is the earliest experience of call and response. Attachment is the conversation that you can have with your newborn that is all about facial expression. It is about that mirroring. It is about the baby goes and the mommy or the daddy goes and the baby sees that, right? It's that response, it's that call and response that starts with facial expression. It starts with eyebrow exchange. I'll never forget
I love it. Eyebrow exchange. Yes.
when my daughter was a baby, and I think she must have been about 3 months old, and we had a whole conversation just with our eyebrows, just with, she would lift hers, I would lift mine, she would lift hers. She's able to do one at a time like my mother, which I can't do. And I called my advisor from grad school and I was like, oh my God, I just had a whole conversation with her with our eyebrows, right? That's attachment. That is it. The other word that's used in the literature is attunement. It's about using every cell in your body to tune in to where your child is at. And when they're infants, it's that facial expression, but it's also what I call physical accommodation, which is what you do in using your breathing and your posture. And most people just do this naturally to accommodate the baby, right? So, for example, if most people don't even think about the fact that they do this, but if you don't do it, it's really problematic. It's really problematic. Yeah. Or if you have a child who struggles with finding that rhythm, parenting is about choreography. That's what it is. It's about choreography and finding that choreography, finding that give and take, finding that way to shift your body and your breathing to help your child soothe and relax, right? So what do we do as parents? We are like limbic life rafts for parents, right? We lend our self-regulation over to our children, and there is this hopefully positive feedback loop where you are supporting them, they are able to experience themselves, you're supporting them, they're able to experience themselves. And that's kind of the foundation of attachment. And it also means, though, setting limits later. Like, I am a big believer in setting limits and holding limits and being firm. And so it's not a free for all. It's about creating connection, but it's also about creating structure.
Yeah.
And
I talk about the container a lot.
yeah,
What size container does this child need right now?
Right.
And then
right.
as they grow, and I now have an 18-year-old, you have a post-college, 21 college student. The container is really a lot bigger than I'd like it to be.
Yeah.
Right? But it's necessary because now I'm an adult. But that's the goal, right? We're growing adults here.
We're growing adults.
And so,
yeah.
I love what you said. Parenting is about choreography because it makes it so clear. And what you said too about how, like, if things are going well, then we're in this dance and the dance feels effortless. And this is something else I say about development generally, but also attachment is like, it feels effortless, but it's not simple.
No.
There's so much happening neurologically, physiologically, emotionally, like all the things, right?
Yep.
And so when any one thing is off, so we've got an infant with colic or a preschool, a 2-year-old or a 1.5-year-old with fluid in their ears, or a sensory integration, someone who's a little bit tactile defensive, who doesn't feel things as well as they should, then all of that whole dance
is much harder.
Is so much harder. And so then you've got this situation where parents feel like it's their fault. So they're shutting off. Kid is reaching out in different kinds of ways that kids do to sort of say, hey, I need you over here.
Right.
And then, kaboom, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we have a really bad set of dance steps happening.
Right.
You guys have at NCRC a program called Play Pals. Walk me through what the levels are.
We have early beginnings and we have Play Pals. Early beginnings is our version of an early intervention program. So kids who apply to NCRC from families that already recognize that the child benefits from supports and adaptations can apply into our early beginnings program. We generally serve between 4 and 6 children in that program, and it provides them with additional time with the child development team, myself, the speech and language pathologist, and the occupational therapist. We do an interdisciplinary group that under non-COVID times is a parent-child group. And then the group, for the first hour, it's a parent-child group. And then for the second hour, the kids stay and work with the speech therapist and the occupational therapist, and the parents come with me for a parent education meeting that happens once a week. During COVID times, we're doing the parent meeting at night. And when kids complete the early beginnings program, the next stage for them is the Play Pals program, which is for older children as they progress through NCRC. There's no parent-child component with the therapists, but the kids have a interdisciplinary group every week. And it's a way to continue the good work that we started in early beginnings.
Mm-hmm. I didn't realize that there was a parent component with you. I mean, it makes perfect sense, but
yeah.
And do you have a curriculum that you take people through, or how does that work? Is it based on who you've got in the room? Like what?
It's based on who's in the group and what the needs are. So it's different every year. I've had some years, I'm just going to put my headset on because I can hear a trash truck out there. Some years where it's been much more, much more like almost like a book club where we choose a book to read and we read it and we discuss it every week. Of course, there's always discussion about people's children in particular and their development. Mm-hmm. Some years the needs of the group are such that I'm bringing in a lot of guest speakers on particular topics. Mm-hmm. Again, it really varies from year to year. Each year, each group has its own dynamic, and I really honor what that dynamic is. And I try to find my choreography with the group and serve them best. So
I love this is a totally new metaphor for me, and I am loving it.
Okay.
This notion of choreography. Yeah.
It came to me when I was first learning how to nurse my daughter, because nursing is one of those things that we all think like we should know how to do this, but in truth, you have to learn how to do it. And it is a choreography that you have to learn. And that's when I started thinking about parent-child stuff in that way. So, yeah.
So is there a theme that comes up most years for the parents that you're, sort of speaking with? And they stay with you for 9 months, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They stay with me for 9 months. And then once their child moves up into Play Pals, they're invited to come back once a month to be part of the group. Okay. So there's a bit of a intergenerational component. Yeah. Although actually this year with COVID, the group from last year was so tight and the group from this year was actually very small. So I combined them. Anybody from last year who was interested in participating could continue since it's virtual and it's in the evening.
Yep.
So, sorry, what was the original part of that
question?
That's
okay. Is there a theme that comes up where you're, something that most of the people watching this are parents of what we call orchid children, right? They're the right. Kids who are clinically or not clinically sort of struggling a little bit. Right. And is there something that comes up in the parenting journey that's common to most parents who are struggling with this choreography?
Again, it varies from year to year. Some years it's really about doing the grieving together over the idealized child. Yeah. Some years that's been a big piece of the work is doing the grieving and acceptance work around, embracing who your child is as an individual and moving forward with that. Some years it's much more about resource sharing and frustration with the system and figuring out how to get good therapists and yeah. So again, it really does vary. I mean, one theme that is consistent is always helping. Well, first of all, trying to get myself informed and then helping the parents to stay informed as resources change and evolve, so like DCPS used to provide X, now they're only providing Z, things like that. Yeah.
this is a tremendous resource that you're providing for these parents. And it comes with the program. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think actually, as I reflect on this, the one theme that is consistent from year to year is community. That is the theme that is consistent, that people feel. It's very important to me that I help people to feel connected to the broader community of parents who are working really hard to support their child for optimal development. The broader community of parents, but also the legacy, the history, the generations of parents at NCRC who are tremendously generous with providing information and resources and guidance.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that community piece. And that's one of the things in our Raising Orchids classes that people say is always like, for the first time, I don't feel alone. My child is having trouble with fill in the blank, biting, potty training, speaking, and they're never the only ones. You get the moms and the dads who are like, and this, and everyone's nodding their heads.
Right.
It's a lovely, lovely thing.
Right.
And they're so lucky to have you. You and I have collaborated several times with kiddos, and I look forward to every single time that I know I'm going to be working with you, because it's so much fun, because I feel like
we speak the same language.
And we want the same things for the kids.
Yeah.
And it's such a joy to get to have this conversation with you and to continue to work with you. Thank you.
Absolutely. I feel exactly the same way, Gabrielle. So, yeah.
All right. I'm going to leave it there, even though we could spend all day.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.